From our home and native land, Toronto's newest pulp culture podcast, covering your favorite comics, collectibles, media, nerderific origin stories, and more. Hosted by your northern neighbor, Jowy Pangolinin. Here it is, nerdos and nerdettes, Comic Sync!
Hey nerdos and nerdettes, this is Jowy from Comics Inc. and I am here joined by
Cyrille.
And we present to you our episode for our beloved, should we even call it beloved right now, Riverdale?
I will call it beloved.
Sure, we can call it the beloved Riverdale episode. We finally watched it. I mean, and when I say we, it's more like I finally watched it because the last half of season 2 that ended a few weeks ago for Canadians, and Cyrille, you just told me this. I didn't know this about Canadian and American Netflix, but I didn't know it aired separately.
Yeah, so because, with America, they have the CW, so what happens is it airs weekly there. So they don't get the full episodes, like on time. Whereas for us, we're still not able to binge watch it on Netflix because it does still come out weekly.
Right.
But we get the entire season a lot quicker than they do because it takes time for them to get it on, their end. So I think that's a good win for Canada since US, totally. I feel like US gets a lot of the better shows sometimes.
They really do. I've seen it in like a cousin's account of mine, and it was like they had, first of all the CW shows imaginable is in American Netflix.
Well, and they had Bob's Burgers first,
I know,
right? They had Archer first. They had,
Crazy.
They still have a lot of shows that we still don't have, and they still have a lot of movies that, we don't have either.
Yeah, so. Totally. But with me, as I was saying, I finally watched the last half of season 2 last week because I was loafing, and usually the first season I wasn't loafing. Like I was finishing episodes left, right, and center. This one now coming out weekly, of course. I still didn't really watch it like, oh, it's Riverdale's coming out today, I gotta watch it. It didn't really feel like that for me, but we're finally talking about it. But before we do go on with Riverdale, we have a little bit of another CW news. And I know Cyrille and I both watched this when we were youngins, but Charmed is coming back as a reboot?
Yeah, so they are, meaning CW, is rebooting Charmed for, to cater to kind of the millennials, Gen Xers and stuff. And it kind of sucks because they are branding it as a feminist show, which is a bit of a slap in the face to Aaron Spelling's original premise,
right.
Which it was a feminist show. It's like
already, yeah.
You had girls who were smart, successful, good looking, and like they kicked ass. Like, they had all of these qualities. I think for them, the creators now are kind of looking at it more in the high level where, they were wearing skimpy outfits back then and that wasn't feminist. And it's just like, who says you can't be sexy and be a feminist
Absolutely.
At the same time?
What the hell were the Spice Girls even for if that was the case,
girl
right?
power.
Yeah.
So this one, it's a reboot of the franchise without the Hallowell sisters, which also is kind of a bit controversial to the original cast. Mm-hmm. So everyone in the original cast is very against.
They don't want any part of this, don't they?
They don't because, it's kind of stripping away what made Charmed unique.
Charmed, yeah, absolutely.
And they're kind of adding different things. So now they have, LGBTQ characters. They have, the entire cast is majority Latina.
Yeah.
Which is,
they changed it. So the power of the power of 3 used to be Piper, Prue, and Phoebe, and then some shit happened with Prue, and then Paige took over, which was Rose McGowan's character, right?
Which I loved her. I loved Rose McGowan's character.
She's
I
fabulous.
thought, nothing bad to say about Prue, but Paige was a little bit more refreshing in that, she kind of reinvigorated the whole I'm a witch, I'm just kind of finding out where I am kind of thing. Whereas with Piper and Phoebe, they had already become sort of
almost gurus there.
Veterans in you know, in that world and stuff. So to kind of have a new witch to train, that was kind of really exciting for me.
Yeah, and now, as you said, it was going to be a little bit of a Latina twist to it, and instead of the power of 3 having like the PPP, it's now an MMM with Macy, Mel, and Maggie. And we saw the trailer just, you know, a few weeks ago. To be honest, I was kind of underwhelmed.
I mean, for me, I'm trying to take it with a grain of salt. Like, I may still watch it just to see what the hype or what it's going to be about. Not saying that there's going to be a big hype for it, but I mean, I'm still very faithful to the original Charmed, and it's not, I think for me, it doesn't look as promising because none of the original
even though
cast,
maybe they'll have better graphics than what we grew up with, it doesn't.
But I think like, you know, aside from that, it's just it was just really well done. The stories were really great. You know, there were really good storylines and stuff. But I think for me, it's kind of a bad sign that like the original cast isn't too gung-ho about this. I think if there had been a little bit of, you know, kind of support from the original cast, I might be a little bit more optimistic about it.
I think so too, yeah.
But I mean, it could just be that, you know, CW pitched it to them and they saw it and they didn't like it. Or CW didn't pitch it to them at all and we're just like, you know what, we're just going to take the name, we're just going to take the property as much as we can and make it ours. But, you know, you don't really realize how much this cast really invested, you know, their time and their work into this.
How many seasons was it again? Like the previous one, like 8 maybe?
It was 8 seasons. And halfway through the series, Holly Marie Combs, Alyssa Milano, and I'm pretty sure Rose McGowan did too. They all at some point were executive producers for the show.
Yeah,
so
they were very hands-on.
That's how invested they were into this property. So I get why they're being protective of it.
Yeah,
I get it, but I mean, at the same time, I'm gonna give it a try.
Yeah, I think we'll watch the pilot still. We'll give it a go.
You never know, and I mean, you know, I think I'm already expecting it to be very CW, so I'm not going into it thinking it's gonna get any deeper than that. But
HBO Charm, can you imagine? No, it's not gonna.
But
happen.
you know, I mean, we'll see. I will remain as hopeful as I can. Do I think it's necessary? No,
not at all.
I think that Hollywood just needs to come up with more original ideas.
And of course, now we're going to talk about Riverdale, which is what our episode is about. Riverdale is already in its 2nd season, and as I said, for Canadians, we're done. We're finished. We know the conclusion of it all. So, Cyrille, give us a little bit of a rundown of what's going on in Riverdale.
Yeah. So just a quick rundown of, we're going to give you season 2 because season 1's kind of a dumpster fire that I kind of forgot. Season 2 is a dumpster fire that I still kind of remember. So season 2 started out with the emergence of the Black Hood, who was kind of, I guess you could say, one of the primary antagonists this season.
Yeah.
He, obviously, season 1 ended with Fred Andrews being shot at Pop's Diner by the Black Hood. And then there was a little bit of a tease between season 1 and season 2 where we were all wondering, was Fred going to die? And the thing is, you know, Luke Perry, we didn't know what his contract was. We didn't know if he signed on for a 2nd season. So we were expecting, we were hoping that he lived, but, you know, expecting the worst in case he did die. But it turns out, season 2, he ended up, you know, living, and he was stronger than ever, which is good because I love Luke Perry. He's
your second daddy.
He's my second daddy. Yeah. And, you know, this 2nd season of Riverdale kind of had different plot points or key kind of storylines where they had the introduction of Chick, who was allegedly Polly and Betty Cooper's older brother. At first, we had all thought that, because Alice had alluded into it in season 1, that she might have had a son. So at first, we all thought, like, oh, it was Hal.
As a lady, though, like, how are you, like, I might have a son? Like, that's so odd. Like, I don't remember something coming out of me.
It's like I didn't know I was pregnant, that TLC show.
Yeah.
But you know, we there was a little bit of an illusion that Alice might have had a son, and we didn't know if I think we all maybe thought that it could have been Hal's son, but with the hints of phallus happening, which is F.P. Jones and Alice Cooper, we were thinking that maybe Chick could have been F.P. and Alice's love child. Yeah. Which would have made sense.
Kind of makes sense. It's his personality and, like, just how he is.
Well, it would have made sense because it would have made sense, you know, as to why the reason, you know, she gave him up, right?
Yeah.
Is because he wasn't the real son, like Hal's son.
Yeah.
So that was a plot line. Another plot point was the Black Hood. So the Black Hood was kind of this weird, creepy serial killer in Riverdale. Had tried to kill Fred Andrews, successfully killed Geraldine Grundy, attempted to kill Moose and Midge, ended up killing Midge later on in the season. And, you know, just kind of he was a really kind of terrifying and creepy character. And he had
like a scream thing to him.
He had this really weird dynamic with Betty, which we ended up finding out later on too.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what was happening.
That's the rundown, I guess.
Yeah. And then we find out, just to kind of close off the season recap, Chick is actually not FP and Alice's son, but it's revealed that he was a friend of FP and Alice's real son that he was ended
just
up
like a rando roommate
that he ended up killing, and he ended up kind of stalking Betty's family to kind of be part of it, and you know, impersonated you know, the brother, and to find out, you know, for Alice to find out that her son was dead was actually a really heartbreaking scene.
Oh gosh, yeah, when she just like runs up to FP and just wails, you know.
And then we find out, so the entire season you're trying to find out who the Black Hood is. You, at first in the mid-season finale, you kind of think that it is Mr. Svensson, who is the high school janitor, and turns out he was just a decoy. And the big reveal, I think second or third last episode, was actually Hal Cooper. So we actually find out that Hal Cooper had this weird
dark Hal,
dark kind of childhood backstory, which also explained the weird relationship that the Black Hood had with Betty. So we found out that he was the one who, you know, was kind of running the show, and, you know, was the one that kind of orchestrated the murders in Riverdale. So that's season 2 in a nutshell.
And here's the thing about season 2 for me is that I thought that there was just too much things going on. And I couldn't appreciate it. Like, it was so far off from season 1. You know, like, I thought season 1 still had some real teenager problems. And then season 2, it was, like, so Gotham. Like, it was so...
Season 2 kind of, you know, turned heads a bit in that... For me, what I liked about season 1 is it kind of set up a murder mystery. And I'm not saying that Archie... the, you know, series should have been a murder mystery, because, I mean, how many murders are going to happen each season before you're just like, okay, should we move out of Riverdale?
In, like, a town as small as, what, like, Streetsville?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
I think that, like, really it should have been done as some sort of mystery thing, but they had... I feel like CW had kind of capitalized on the whole popularity of Pretty Little Liars and just started to make it so far-fetched. And I mean, the Archie comics are far-fetched anyways. I mean,
they're ridiculous.
You know, back in the 60s, maybe you had that quintessential American, all-American, you know, teen, but you know, later on it kind of got a little bit wonky with the introduction of Sabrina and everything too.
Yeah.
But, you know, to kind of put it in a live action version, I don't know. I think it might have worked. I just think that maybe the writers... I will say that a lot of my gripes about the series has something to do with the writers.
Yeah.
Or just the writing.
Season 1, though, I binged watched the hell out of it. Like, as I said before, and I really liked it because it was still kind of close to what I knew Archie was. And I think both of us actually started reading comics, like Archie Digest.
That was my introduction into comics.
Yeah, same here. Like, I mean, I used to get it when my godmother used to buy her Reader's Digest, I would get an Archie's Digest.
Yeah.
And to me, I really like the characters. I think that, you know, especially Betty and Veronica, I really like the casting for it. So season 1, I already